Ah.
Welcome to the Micheaux Mission, 2 Men, 1 podcast, every black film ever made. My name is Len, aka the Bat Tribble. Hello. And as always, I am joined by my partner right there.
Hey, this is Vincent Williams.
And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are bringing you our review of 2016's SLEIGHT. And it is not a film that Vince chose for this stop on the mission, nor is it a film that I chose for this stop on the mission. This is a film that was chosen by our very special guest. She is the lifestyle columnist for the Philadelphia Inquirer, and she is a quote-unquote dope chick. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Elizabeth Wellington, who is right there.
Hey.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing?
Just fine. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us on this stop on the Micheaux Mission, and thank you to each and every one of you who are out there watching us stream live on YouTube and on Facebook in our Micheaux Mission pages and Facebook group. We thank each and every one of you, starting with the first one who leaves us a comment, which is Aaron Fry, who says, "Good evening, people." So everybody say good evening to Aaron.
Good evening to Aaron.
Aaron.
That
Fry.
That made his day. Elizabeth, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and talk with us. And let me just ask you real quick, what does it mean to be the lifestyle columnist of the Philadelphia Inquirer?
Well, before COVID, pre-COVID, I kind of wrote about pop culture and style and fashion, and I just kind of chronicled what was happening in the world. Post-COVID, I've been doing lots of like how to live better stories, sort of like tips on how to get through and how to, I'm actually working on a story now about helping people understand what cultural appropriation is, which has been kind of interesting because, it's this kind of concept now that, it's not the same thing it was in the 90s, and how Black bodies are being threatened and Black history is being ignored, but at the same time, Black culture is being stolen by all people all the time because they don't understand history and don't care about Black bodies. So it's kind of an explainer about what it is and how it's changed, and how it's not just Gwen Stefani deciding, or I don't know, I guess Adele wearing a Jamaican flag. It's more like the Professor Jessica Krug becoming a Black woman so she can get a better job. And I'm a Black woman and I can't get a better job. So so that's kind of what that is. So that's been interesting to write, and just kind of like helping people work through rage and anger. What it has made me is pretty neurotic, because now I'm like, I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to wear a mask and stay home. I just want to stay home and drink wine because it's safe here. Because there's so much stuff going on out there. I'm like, y'all you can go to those restaurants if you want to. I'm staying home. But so there's
really
that.
You're not going out to the restaurant? I mean, because I do have to say that on my vacation a couple of weeks ago when I went to Rehoboth, I went to some very well-appointed and socially distant-minded restaurants and had a very good time. But no, Elizabeth, you're not having it.
Elizabeth is not feeling it.
If I can't order at home and sit on my couch and watch stuff like SLEIGHT or whatever I'm watching, Lovecraft Country with my wine, I buy a box of wine and sit home in my house until they work this out, because I got too many sick people, too many old people we were just talking about around me, too many compromised immune systems. And I don't like the fact that they don't know, all the impact about this, like how you have lung scarring after and all this other stuff. So they can keep and plus I'm saving money.
That's true.
I'm not eating out. I'm saving money. I'm like, you know how much money I spent? You know how much money I spent on coffee and yoga and parking? I like, because I like to be in the street. I mean, I like to be outside. I'm flattering all over the world. I'm like, I got 7 chapters of my novel written and I got a box of wine. I am good.
So Amazon Prime and Target aren't chasing after you and getting your money then?
No, I'm not. I've been actually really good. Like if I shop, like I'll go out and spend like $100, $150 in one fell swoop. And then I'm good for like 2 or 3 weeks. And then I'll go back. Like I've had to send people presents for birthdays and stuff. But I'm not out there just shopping. I was never like one to shop like that Rick James skit. I don't just shop just to shop.
Right.
but even though I was in fashion, and probably because I covered fashion so much and lifestyle stuff, that I was just like, I knew it was like a hustle. So my next project is I'm going to go through my closet and get rid of all my clothes and just I'm going to be like one of those, since, now I'm in my 40s, I'm going to be one of those people that just wears like black all the time and funky glasses and like, long dresses and just, I'm getting rid of all my hottie 20s and 30s clothes. And I'm just going to be like Debbie Allen and be glamorous and fabulous all the time and long stuff. So I got to go through my closet. And get rid of all my cheap hoe clothes. So that's my next project.
I like. Okay. All right.
Okay. It's interesting. I'm thinking about what's in my club. What cheap hoe clothes.
Right.
I need to let go of.
You had any cheap hoe clothes in years.
Well, I will say, like, it probably was in my late 30s when I probably let go of my my brown leather pants. So
what? You had brown leather Eddie Murphy pants? Shut up. I'm impressed.
Now, was it the exact same brown that you are? So did it look like you weren't wearing pants
at all? So you look naked? Oh, this is good.
You were Daffy Ducking it?
They were a little darker. They were a dark, soft brown. And they look good when I bought them when I was like 22.
Everything looked good when you were 22, boo.
That's how they get you. They tell you stuff when you're 22.
That's exactly how you get you. Bree 517 talking about cultural appropriation wrote that it was the Bantu knots for me.
Adele, well, it was interesting. Yeah. It was interesting. I think, to me, I wasn't too mad at her for that, because I feel like culture. I feel like that's kind of. I mean, we all borrow hairstyles and culture and as long as she wasn't saying I created Bantu knots, like the whole Kardashians created like cornrows and everything. Right. I'm not so mad about that. I got over. And I went through that phase where I was salty all the time. Every time I saw a white woman in dreads, I was like, "Who are you?" I want to take her down. Like, you don't know about this. But now I feel like, it's fine. Be a barista, wear dreads. I mean, that's what culture is about. But so for me, appropriation is about stealing something and not giving somebody credit. But say if Adele opened up a hair studio that did Bantu knots and didn't have any black stylists in there, then it becomes appropriation to me. So I think that's like that's kind of the difference. I think we're all at a point now where we're borrowing and shifting and changing and culture. Like culture.
Okay, culture is something to be borrowing from white people, because there's nobody borrowing anything from white people.
Well, that's a good question, but I think it's not. We're not borrowing. We're forced to assimilate into the culture. Right. So
right. But
that's not borrowing. It's like, it's there. Because see, I guess the question is, Black culture is American culture too. Like we are a part of America. So, right. And that's when the lines get kind of fuzzy. Like, we get dressed up in business suits every day. We wear we're wearing this 18th century, late 19th century style clothes. Black women sometimes dye their hair blonde. You know, that's not appropriation. That's just, you know, it's a style.
Right.
Some women just like blonde hair. Some chicks just like bantu knots. Some people just like dreads. But it's when you steal it.
How does it fit into your equation that she looked ridiculous? I think it's a legitimate question because, like you said, a sister have blonde hair, or you know, brothers.
That's true because I am anti-black women with blonde hair. I am like, anti that.
Unless they make it work. I think a lot of it is you look ridiculous.
Well, also, but see,
and none of your friends told you don't do that. You look ridiculous. Well,
here's the thing with that. As an armchair fashionista that I am, as I sit and watch the red carpet and decide, looking ridiculous is not a crime. Everybody has the right. You have the right to look ridiculous, and my ridiculous could be your fly. So that's very subjective. So I can't really judge. I can't. It's not right when we as people, and Black people are so good at this. Like, oh, that child, she looks ridiculous. But then, you know, it stops creativity. It stops the flowing. You know, the inflow of energy. I'm not really concerned with how ridiculous I think somebody looks, although I will sit in the corner like the other chick and talk about somebody who looks ridiculous, and I expect people to talk about me in my whole clothes if I look ridiculous. However, I think that is a fair thing, but that's not what the judgment is. The judgment is that what her intent was, and even though she looked ridiculous, I don't think Adele's intent was to steal a style and make it her own and not give the people credit who created it. In fact, she wore the look as a British person. She grew up in not far from Brixton in London, and a lot of her friends were Black Brits, and she was kind of wearing it to show she probably went to the Caribbean Day Parade. She hung out with Black people, and she was like, these are my, you know, I love these people. You know, we can't do the Caribbean Day Parade, and this is why we're doing it. So I think her intent was pure, even though she looked ridiculous.
Do you think she showed that to her friends before, these Black friends, before she went out?
Maybe, perhaps. I think she probably did. I mean, I don't know. I'm not Adele. I'm not British, you know. But
follow-up question: are those really her friends?
Okay, now you're just taking it to the next level of stankness, which I'm okay with. But let's be clear.
You know, I'm a big proponent of checks and balances. We all make decisions, but it's always good to have good. I say it all the time. Good counsel. So what I got from that is that either A, she didn't have any Black friends, or are those really your friends? Because that was something that reflected bad counsel.
My sister Adrian loves to famously say when she sees somebody that has, let's say, questionable fashion sense, she'll just say, "No mirrors, no friends."
And that's
wise woman.
And I think what Adele was really trying to do more than cop Black culture, she was trying to show off her new body. I mean, homegirl, she lost all this weight. She had on this tight little top thing. She was trying to get her whole clothes in while she still was of the age where it was appropriate. So that's what she was doing. Like, she was just trying to show off her body. And so I'm like, look, if that's how you want to show off your body, you know, that's what and that's more of the issue too. Like, why'd you know, it's all these things coming to happen, but I think it's intent in the end of the day. And I don't think her intent was the Kardashian intent or the Jessica Krug intent, or I think I might be saying her name wrong, or the Rachel Dolezal intent, or the Beatles intent when they stole, you know, or you know, everybody's intent and profiting off of it. You know, now we can argue that she profits off of Black sounds when she sings, but then again, so did John B. And he really liked the people, you know. And so I don't think she was like, I think it's like, it's different when she does it as opposed to Ivanka Trump. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a whole different, it's the intent of the person, which I think is kind of key.
And if anybody out there in the Micheaux Mission land doesn't know exactly what picture we are referring to.
Oh, y'all look good.
Adele in her Bantu knots. There you go.
Yeah. That was just my body type talk. But But I'm
in her defense, I don't think, and somebody actually mentions it. Listen to Vince. Somebody actually mentions that it's not like she was doing it for a photo spread for a magazine. So I think that she was just being.
You are so wrong, Vince.
Vince is just.
Vince can't stop. Vince, chill, man.
Chill, Vince. All right, it's going, Vince. It's going.
But here's the other question. When I saw that picture of her, did you guys also see in the same week the picture of Tracee Ellis Ross on the cover of Elle?
No, I didn't.
I don't know if I did.
So Tracee Ellis Ross did a cover of Elle.
Yes, I did with the hair,
with the pickaninny braid thing, and to me that's a more interesting question of cultural appropriation because like white people put her on the cover. Like, why am I whispering? I'm on a show with black people, but white people put her on the cover of Elle magazine. You know
we're trained. Well, you got to whisper the word white. That's
so trained.
You don't want to summon them like Candyman.
Like, white people.
You say white too loud, they show up. They'll regentrify where you live. You won't be able to afford to live there anymore.
So, but she was on the cover of Elle with the braids, and it was a trigger to so many. Yes,
Lynn, you are good.
Y'all are good. for real skills. And so that that dress and that hairstyle was such a trigger to people. And I think on this level, it's interesting on appropriation here too, because, the fashion industry likes to exoticize Black people. And when they do exoticize Black people, it's like, is that a celebration? It's not clear to me. And I love Tracee Ellis Ross. She is my friend in my head. She's one of my heroes. And I'm just like, girl, when they started putting those ponytail things in your hair, didn't you stop them? So I don't know. You may have other thoughts about that, but to me, that's more a cultural appropriation than what Adele did, because that's an image that people didn't respect, and now all of a sudden you're just gonna plop it on to it's just, I don't know. I found that a little bit more problematic.
So do you think Tracee Ellis Ross had no decision making in that at all?
She had. That's the thing. She had to. Like, when you're working with these magazines, celebrities, they get to pretty much sign off on the picture that goes on the cover.
That's
they have publicists that work with them. So I'm confused.
So is it appropriation if Tracee Ellis Ross says, I want to
run with this picture?
With this picture?
I don't know. I mean, it feels like it, but maybe it is, because maybe it's not, because she gave her permission. It's her body, so she gave permission for that. I don't know, but these are the questions that I ask, and I don't know.
And now we're starting to orbit very close to, you can't have more than one third rail, but work with me. The various third rails in the Black community of skin tone and hair grade, and she's biracial and everything. Like Tracee Ellis Ross and hair is going to be a dissertation in like 60 years anyway.
Well, she has the hair company Pattern.
I know.
And her stuff is good. So the product is lovely. So it's one of these things. But then again, she's so. And at the same time that happened, the Kamala Harris discussions were happening. They were questioning her Blackness. And so there's this question of like, what is like people are defining what Blackness is. We're looking at Blackness, what Blackness is, and talking about it. But at the same time, some of our Blackness is being stolen in the same way. It's really hard to explain, which is probably why I'm still trying to finish the story. Mm-hmm.
Right. And who has access to what Blackness?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that was a good point. I can understand glamorizing, because I think also that's probably what Tracee did. She was like, look, I want you to use this because I want you to make this a beautiful image, but then you have what Vincent was saying, because you have this one thing is about, does a light-skinned woman or a biracial woman get to glamorize that when that was never her stilo back in the 1930s in the first place? Like, that's not what a biracial woman would look like. That would be more like how I would look in the 30s, or Lupita would look in the 30s. That wouldn't be glamorous at all. So can you glamorize something that wasn't even aimed at you in the first place and say that you're remaking it? Right.
And I agree. And I think that's where it gets murky, where we start gatekeeping each other. I'm actually very comfortable gatekeeping against white people. But when we start gatekeeping amongst ourselves, I think those are the conversations that we should probably be having. And this has gotten much deeper than I plan on getting right now. Lynn, can you throw up that picture of Adele again? Can you throw up the picture of Adele again? Throw up Adele one more time for me, please. There is no way she has black friends that told her that's what's hot in the streets. Do that, Del. You got that, Del. Oh, yeah, come on, Del, let's go.
Anyway.
Lynn, please tell me if I ever looked that ridiculous.
I will, bruh. I can't promise it won't be after the camera snaps, though. But I will tell you. I'm like, Vince, look at this picture. See how ridiculous you look?
That's what's hot in the streets.
Speaking of, to a degree, cultural appropriation brings us to a little bit of a topic that Elizabeth was mentioning to me earlier about possibly wanting to get into. And that is a show that Vince and I spent all last night talking about, which was Lovecraft Country. And particularly the most recent episode, episode 5, Strange Case, which told the story of Ruby in the life of living as a white woman. And it was a very, first of all, it was a very, for a horror series, this was probably one of the goriest of the 5 episodes that have aired so far, the most unsettling in many ways, physically as well as psychologically. And it was one that actually left an effect on the actress, Wumi Masaku, who plays Ruby. She actually did an interview with, This is turning to the Elle podcast. She did an interview with Elle magazine, where she broke down Ruby's choice for living the life that she did as a white woman in that scene, and basically also speaks about her place in Hollywood as a British actress, taking on this role in Lovecraft Country, which is a decidedly American tale because it talks about Jim Crow America in the 50s from a horror point of view. Elizabeth, you are a fan of this show. Did you watch last night's episode?
I did. I watched Sunday night's episode. I was. It was definitely gory. I still think the first episode was the first most goriest to me, like taking the guy's arm off, but the flesh of this episode was weird. Like you saw the flesh fall off. It's so it was unsettling but really interesting. Like I couldn't stop watching at the same time. And I wanted to see the connection for all of this. And at this, living, I guess, as if a Black woman was presented with the idea of living as a white woman, because she kind of wanted to leave the little serum thing, because I guess she had to hold on. Did she? And I wasn't clear. Did she have to ingest it? Did she have to hold on to it?
No, she had to ingest it.
She had to ingest
it. She had to drink it.
So you had to drink it, and then you and it was interesting too the way that they made this actress, because she's a full figured. She's not like a tiny Black woman, which she could go in and out. So she had to bust out in order to be her. She had to bust out of the smaller white woman's body. Like she had to, and the imagery and the symbolism was really kind of interesting. Like I feel like I need to watch it. Like I feel like I have to watch these like 2 or 3 times anyway, just to kind of get them. And so it was so it was so graphic. It was really well done. It was really graphic, and it was really like, I don't know what it was like for her, like you said, the actress, to come out, to grow out of she had to bust out of a white woman every time with white flesh falling off. It was kind of masterfully done, and definitely like kind of leaves you shaken afterwards. But there were a lot of other parts. The Montrose story became pretty interesting in that. The whole, like, I wonder if the era was, because they had him sort of in like a ballroom setting, and I don't know if that setting would have been accurate for the 50s, but maybe not. Like, I feel like that's something you would have seen in the 20s and the 70s, but I don't know if the 50s it would have been there, but probably like kind of in an underground kind of way.
On an underground way, I could imagine.
Yeah, I could see that. I could, and also the relationship between Atticus and Letty is kind of moving forward in an interesting.
I should say so. Yes.
In an interesting kind of way that neither of them were kind of expecting. So, but I mean, it's masterfully done, and it's a show that you can watch it and find all these clues and have these different podcasts. So, I mean, there's so many things to say about it. It's hard to say, but it is horrifying. Like, it's really horrifying. I think the vampire scared me the most. That first episode, I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to watch this again. Because when those little eyes started, and I love a vampire flick, but when those eyes went off and teeth showed up, I was like, that was a little bit too much. What did you guys think? You guys probably talked about it last night, which I missed it, but
I loved it. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was brilliant, and I love the way Ruby's black body has been presented throughout the series, frankly, and certainly last night is the culmination of how her body has been presented. As you said, she's a bigger black woman.
She's solid, yeah. She's solid.
She is a dark brown black woman, and certainly the history of the dark brown, overweight female body is not one that has been presented well.
And to be sexy, right? To be sexy.
Well, and that's what I was about to say. I think what is so radical about Ruby is that from the first moment we see her in the first episode, and she's on stage and she's playing her instrument, and it's like that glow because she's been sweaty, and it is very sensual. And you very rarely see a black woman who looks like her presented in that way. And then each episode, I think they've been working towards it. So, like you said, we did talk about it last night, and each metamorphosis last night in that episode, I thought you had this wonderful journey until you got to the very end, to the final. And what we were saying is, and what I said when the episode came on, and they were using the caterpillar and butterfly imagery. And certainly they tried to, present that the white woman was the butterfly. But Misha Green and them were going to subvert it. Like that was no surprise that by the end, Ruby is the butterfly.
Amen.
What she does when she bursts out of that cocoon of the white woman and she's standing triumphant. I thought it was amazing. Yeah, I thought it was amazing. And
she's completely self-aware, which is really nice the whole time. And she's self-aware in a way that she's like, I'm just as good as the next person. I'm gonna get this job at this space. I'm gonna at this. It's interesting that they picked a department store. The fashion is fantastic on the show. Like, the period pieces are wonderful. The hair is right. If you've seen pictures of my grandparents, probably yours, it's completely relatable. Even her, pointy bra, the polka dots, the hairstyles, the Marcells, so it's really Atticus's clothing. That man can wear a tight t-shirt. Not that y'all want to hear that, but
we heard it last night.
We've heard.
Yes.
But
his t-shirts has many fans.
His t-shirts are fantastic.
I think even that is worth noting, that Atticus is sexualized as much, if not more than the women. And that's something he's also
so nerdy too. So his timing, he's not like the sexy like he's just so like his sexiness kind of grows on you. When he pulls his glasses out the first time, I was like, oh, he's kind of interesting. So you kind of like first I was like, oh, who's this? And I was like, oh, he's got the glasses and his shirts are fancy. The people who do the fashion of that is fantastic. So it's such a great period piece, but it did make me, the nerd I am, it did make me like kind of look up who H.L. Lovecraft is and who the guy who wrote H.P. H.P. Lovecraft. Oh, my bad. And also not only that, but the person who wrote Lovecraft Country is not African American either. That's right. So the story is really interesting because you can, and they don't really follow the book at all. Like they have the parts of the house and they're different parts of like the conspiracy. What is it? The lodge that's in there, but they've made some changes, some conspiratorial changes, which are kind of interesting. So I mean, I want to see what happens with. I want to see how they would become another next series for it. And it's such a good genre to actually have. I've never seen, we watch a lot of HBO and a lot of that stuff, so I can see why it's such a good genre. It's so it's interesting and it's kind of, and it's so reflective of where we are with Black bodies and fear and monsters and you can even connect it to what's happening in the White House. Like those are monsters. Like it's a lot of like, who would you rather be caught by, a vampire or that mean racist police officer who was the son downtown, and he was awful. Like it was just, there's so much to say about it. So packed.
Or now to talk about the police chief who, when he took off his shirt, you could see that he had like a black body underneath.
Yeah,
his shirt there. Go ahead, Vince. You want to say?
Okay.
No. What I wanted to do, not to go back down this road, but to absolutely go back down this road. You just said it. If H.P. Lovecraft is the sort of impetus for the whole conversation, and H.P. Lovecraft, like when you look into his work, it really is his xenophobia across the board kind of gives him the fuel to write everything that he writes. Matt Wolf, is it Matt Wolf? Matt Wolf? The novel.
Matt something. I can't remember his last name. Matt.
But he's also white. So now you have two layers of whiteness where you have two white men talking about race, either obliquely or in the case of the novel directly, Lovecraft Country. But then you have Misha Green, who's sort of the mastermind and the creator of this novel, and she's taking the series, and turning it into something else. And we were just saying a few minutes ago, Black people don't borrow anything from white people. Would you say this is analogous to Adele looking ridiculous in Bantu knots, or is this something different?
It's Quiz the Reporter here on
I know.
Micheaux Mission.
I know. That's deep. Talk about catching a sister off guard. Let's see. I think that is this. Well, I think no. It's because in this case, I'm sure that Misha Green and HBO had to buy the rights to this man's book. So Matt Ruff's book, and now we could figure. Now I don't know how much. Like, did Matt Ruff need to get HP because he wrote this based on H.P. Lovecraft's writings, right? So he took. So how much does Matt Ruff know? I mean, I never read the original book, Lovecraft Country. I kind of want to check it out, but
oh, you should. It's good. It's a great book.
So yeah. So if you've read the book. Did he get blackness right in that? In that book?
I think he did, but I think the changes that Misha Green has made
make it more authentic.
Has deepened it and complicated. For instance, Ruby isn't overweight in the book. So right there, that kind of you have like Letty was a lighter skinned Black woman, but they didn't really deal with that. And and the complexity of complexion with us, if you will, that it looks like they're going to deal with it on the show.
Right.
But and I don't believe Montrose was gay in the book.
Okay.
So it's those kind of changes.
Well, we know him as Omar, so you never know what Omar is going to do. Like just the actor,
Right.
like it doesn't even surprise me anymore. Like, ooh, that's a possibility.
Right.
Just
he surprised me because I think I mentioned it last night. This was like maybe the first time I've seen that actor Michael K. Williams smile on screen. Like he always wearing that scowl.
That's true. That's true.
But he actually is allowed to, display joy on the screen, even though you may feel like a little weird about the character, but displaying this joy though.
Well, that brings me to another point. But before to finish this, so I don't know if this is actual appropriation because I think that HBO bought the rights to Matt Ruff. Matt Ruff's not getting ripped off. We know it's his book. We know this came from him. It's a film adaptation. So is that cultural appropriation? No, culture. And that's a good question because the definition of cultural appropriation is when you take an idea. Now, if he took this idea and kind of, it's like stealing a beat, right? He took the idea, so didn't give credit to it. There's so many similarities that you can't now that you can tell that it's from there, then that would be like kind of cultural appropriation. But the other question I wanted to see, so in the spirit that came back to life the week before, the Indian, the two spirits,
right,
and you saw that
Yahima.
And it's not clear to me why he would kill Yahima. That's like probably a conversation over whiskey or something. I'm sure we have to move on. But the issue, but I wonder if it was symbolic that he kills Yahima, and then the next episode you see that he's gay. Like he would be a two-spirit, in the classic thing, he would like be, and what the purpose is and the symbol is. Now I'm sure he killed her. I don't know why. You guys probably have more thoughts about that, but if that's kind of all connected, like this, if the sexuality part is connected with the horror, with that spirit, and
I'm sure it is. Yeah, I suspect they haven't told us everything yet.
Okay, I thought I might miss it.
No, but I think certainly them being intersex and Montrose dealing with his own sexuality. Certainly, yeah.
I'm certainly played a part in it, and like again, we also mentioned last night. We thought that it was very interesting and timely that the episode speaks about the silencing of the Yahima character in such a violent way. At the end of the episode, the beginning of the next episode offers commentary on that by way of the characters speaking to it. So I think that is something that, without reading the book, I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Matt Ruff maybe doesn't have the wherewithal to put something like that in writing in the book. That is where the difference comes by having Misha Green, and Jordan Peele, and all of these people involved in adapting this story, giving it that much more weight, that much more significance. You know what I mean? So it really is an incredible achievement. Lovecraft Country, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not watching it on HBO, I invite you to do so. And then if you want to get in the conversation that reviews Lovecraft Country every Monday night at 9 p.m., I myself, the Bat Tribble, am joined by my Black Tribbles and occasionally our very special guests like Vince last night for the Safe Tribble Travel Guide to Lovecraft Country, where we review each and every episode of the series. They just had the 5th episode. There are 5 more this season. Vince is already booked to come back on for the season finale. And if Elizabeth is willing, be more than happy to welcome you onto the stream as well to talk about the show as well.
That could be fun. Okay.
Yeah, cool. Now, real quick before we get into our review, you said that this would be a fun topic to talk about over whiskey, Elizabeth, and I'm sure it would be. Vince is a man who never passes up whiskey unless he's feeling under the weather.
Oh, jeez, that's an old joke.
But I also noted that on Twitter that you are also a fan of Prosecco.
Oh yeah, I like Prosecco.
You like Prosecco? Okay. Okay.
I almost was gonna drink some while I was doing this interview, but I was like, oh, I don't know if they're ready for all that.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious about this because I myself, as I told Vince, I've only recently been introduced to Prosecco by my lady, who was a hardcore Prosecco drinker. She's probably drinking it now, and I'm curious. Where did your love affair for Prosecco begin, and what brand of Prosecco do you drink?
I can't really answer when my love affair with Prosecco began because
it was in the womb.
Probably. I do love wine. Let me tell you.
That's not juice in that juice box.
But I like Josh Prosecco. That's what I was drinking. I was drinking Josh. Because the beautiful thing about Prosecco, it's like bubbly and dry and it's not super sweet. It's not like, I'm not like, I think I was never, I'm not the sweet wine girl. I don't like, what is that sweet wine that everybody that was hot for a while? It was like, everybody had to have it. No, Riesling, it was okay. It was like the real cheesy one that everybody thought they were really cool when they were drinking it. And it begins with an M, and my brain is broken right now. So I can't remember, but somebody will remember and put it in. I could Google it. Moscato, that's it. Oh,
Moscato.
Terrible. So terrible. But I used to just like, Prosecco as a sort of a cheaper version of champagne when I was making mimosas. And then I was like, but you can drink this straight, or you can mix this with other stuff. And it's just good and dry and tasty. But I do like Josh, and I like La Perla, which is good. La Perla. It's like, it's like $12 or
La Marca.
No, La Marca. Yeah, because La Perla is the underwear. I'm about to say La Marca, and it's the purple bottle. And whatever's on sale at the. Some people are like, oh, I only drink this, I only drink that. I drink what's on sale at the wine store, and I am not ashamed.
Kay Martin says Moscato. Don't do it.
It's awful. It's like it's like drinking cat pee. It's awful, terrible.
God, I didn't know it was that bad.
It's just too sweet. It's just, and everybody thought it was like so cool. I think I'll have a Moscato, and it's like you kind of lull into it, and it's just like it's terrible. It's so cheap. But I like.
So, do you consider yourself a wine snob? Are you a wine snob?
No, I'm not a wine snob. I just, I don't like sweet. I'm a wine snob when it comes to sweet wines because I think that. Okay, now I'm talking about Black people. I think Black people just overdo it with sweet wines. I mean, you miss the beauty of the palate of wine. Like, if you want a Chardonnay that's oaky, you want a red that's dry, a Cab that's dry. You don't want like. Sweet wines are like Kool-Aid, like that. If you want sweet wine, you should just have a popsicle and keep it moving. So
what do you think about plum wine?
Now I do like plum wine because I like sushi, but plum wine is like a different kind of. It's a different thing. It's not like sweet Moscato. It's you can get plum wines that are a little bit more drier. You can get them, and you can only have like one. But I do like a port. I do like a port wine, and port is sweet. It's like a dessert wine. So I do like a port.
It's a dessert wine.
But I like a solid, a hard
little glass.
Yes.
A little glass.
A little glass that you hold like this, and you sit by a fireplace.
Like a cigar.
Now those are nasty. Cigars, nasty.
Hey, you're the one drinking the port and having the cigar. I thought you were going to go out in the balcony and split up Africa.
No, I don't do cigars. Cigars are nasty. They're offensive. But yeah. So, but I do plum wine.
This part of Africa is for Portugal.
What the hell are you talking about?
I don't know.
Old white guys. Whenever old white guys having port and cigars, I just assuming they're exploiting Africa.
K. Martin
They
says
might
that you are speaking her love language, #great wine.
Mm-hmm.
But also says that Lamarca with some La Perla could be
a great girl. You ain't lying. You are not lying, especially if Idris Elba shows up, but we don't have to go there.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. All right. Well, on that note, ladies and gentlemen.
Because he's not even in the movie, so you can't even segue to him, Lynn.
I can't.
You can. What's his name? Who's in the movie is really cute, so we can segue to him.
Jacob
Latimore or the young
Latimore. Jacob Latimore. He's cute. Now he's jailbait, but he's really cute. So we can.
I was about to say, my 15-year-old daughter was talking about him.
Cute. Yeah, he's cute. He's cute. But he's older. I googled him. He's about 20. He's not 28. Is he about 30? He's at least 30, I think. He's not like 12 or anything.
It's weird when you see how old these actors.
I know.
Actors really are. I know. Because we actually just watched what was it? Project Power on Netflix with Jamie Foxx.
Mm-hmm.
And the young lady that is in that movie basically is playing like a 13, 14-year-old person.
Mm-hmm.
She's 29.
Wow.
And very convincingly, you do not, you think she's 14 years old. Like, I'm like, wait a minute, did they film this movie 15 years ago? Like, what the hell is that? Like, I don't believe that she is actually 29. But she's 29 years old.
It's kind of like Storm Reed is 57 years old.
Now that's a segue. She's in the movie.
Don't crack. Don't crack.
Storm Reed is 57. That's funny.
She was supposed to speak at the March on Washington, and some stuff happened. Yeah.
Yes. Let's watch Storm Reed, winner of the Best Newcomer of 1966, and J.D. Dillard's SLEIGHT, our film here on the Micheaux mission. Check this out, ladies and gentlemen, and we will be right back.
As you can see, there's no string at all. What's your name?
Holly.
You can grab it, Holly.
How did you do that? So you do magic?
I mean, a little. My dad passed a while back and my mom passed last year. It's just me and my little sister Tina. It's love of my life.
What's up? You have been doing good. I've been hearing there's a new supplier in the area. Homie moves into our backyard and starts selling like I don't exist. We're gonna pay him a little visit. Talk to him about etiquette. Sit down! What the?
This is turning into something I would have never signed up for. I never thought it'd get dangerous. I just wish I could move Tina to a neighborhood with a better school, surrounded with better people.
You got my money?
Don't mess up, man!
I gave you a job when you needed it most. I'm gonna kill you and every person you know.
What's happening?
Nothing you need to worry about. Just hard being a grown-up sometimes, that's all. I have no idea how this happened.
I'm gonna help you figure this out.
Anyone can learn a trick. I can do something no one else can.
Oh my God.
I need more power. This isn't for a trick, is it? There's a lot of things in our lives that can trap us. But these barriers only exist if we let them. You know, we can do whatever we want if we just believe we're able to.
A young street musician named Bo is left to care for his little sister after their parents' death and turns to illegal activities to keep a roof over their heads. SLEIGHT, a 2016 American superhero film, is directed by J.D. Dillard, written by Dillard and Alex Thoreau, and stars Jacob Latimore, Seychelle Gabriel, Storm Reed, Sashir Zamata, Michael Villar, and Dule Hill. This film from 2016 was the selection of our very special guest, Elizabeth Wellington of the Philadelphia Inquirer. Elizabeth, what say you of SLEIGHT?
I liked it. I thought it was a good film. I don't know if it was a superhero movie, because I felt that, I felt that it wasn't really until the end. Like, I thought it was a movie about magic. Like, he was a magician. And it wasn't until the end where the superpowers happened, and the superpowers, they were kind of, I guess, engineered like an Iron Man thing. And it's not like he was flying and doing a bunch of stuff. But I thought that, like, superhero movies, is more action. Like, I see people take people out through the whole movie. But it was good. It was more, I definitely would consider it kind of science fiction-y. And I thought that it was really well told. And I thought that the actor was believable. The only part that didn't track for me is how mean Dule Hill's character became. Like, I didn't get, like, why he wanted Jacob Latimore's character to be so indebted to him. Like, 1 minute he was like a low level dude. Next minute he's taking him on killings. That didn't really track for me. Right. So I'm like, well, it's not like he wanted to do this. It's not like he ripped him off. It's not like, he brought him into a killing for, like, no reason almost, right? It's like, he just wanted him to, like, give somebody's phone number, see who this dude was. And now all of a sudden he wants him to be a bad, like, the initiation part, I just didn't kind of get. So that to me was like, I guess it was part of the motivation, because I'm looking weird. It was part of the motivation because that drove, like, the rest of the movie. But the action, so it was like, he was just too, he got too mean too fast for no reason. But other than that, like, the magic, what he put in his arm, kind of that Iron Man thingy to lift up the batteries, like, you knew that was coming, or how he did things. It was interesting. You could see he was a smart kid, and he liked science, and this is what you can do if you're good with science. So I liked it.
Basically turn your arm into an electromagnetic
magnet. Exactly. And that was where the science fiction came in. So I thought it was suspenseful. Like, at the end, I was like, holding my breath, like, what's going to happen. So I definitely felt the suspense in it, and I thought it was a good movie. I see why it did well. I think it only cost them $250,000 to make it, and they made $4 million from it. Yeah. So that's doing pretty well. So
that's a return.
I gave it a thumbs up.
Very true. Very true. Very true. I thought that kind of, like, that switch from Dule Hill's character to who was bigging himself up, like, like he is like the master OG in this town, the number one, drug dude, and yet he really only has 2 boys, and so much so that he's got to draft on this low level kid who doesn't look like he's even held a water gun before, let alone a real gun. So that didn't track for me either. I have to agree with that as well. Vince, what were your initial thoughts on SLEIGHT?
Well, on the film, I thought it was a really well done film. I love the acting. I thought the story was great. I actually wrote 3 or 4 times in my notes the word economy. Like, I love the economy of the script and how it conveyed information. But now what I want to talk about is I completely disagree with both of you all. Angelo made perfect sense to me. Angelo and his moves made perfect sense to me, and for some of the reasons you all said. Like, Lynn, I don't think he was a huge dealer, but, I mean, he said it. He's trying to build something. And right now he's got these 2 morons working for him, like they're muscle.
Right.
And, I think the first thing he says when Angelo comes in is that if these 2 don't watch it, you're going to be working for them.
That's true.
And
he
then,
does say that. Yeah.
you know, one of the things that he says at the end when he's so angry at him is that I invested in you. I got the sense that Angelo was trying to bring him up and take him under his wing because he saw a future for Bo in his drug dealing empire. And I actually put, like, I think Angelo was like the most ethical drug dealer I've ever seen in media. Like, he kind of kept his word. He kind of, you know, he goes with the guys that moved in. He told them what was going to happen, and then it happened. And you said that Bo didn't do anything. Bo cut his drugs.
No,
that
Bo
apparently
only cut his... Go ahead.
Apparently, he cut it. Look, I don't know.
But Bo only cut his drugs because he was like, you have to do, like, the thing that happened is, like, 1 minute you have this low-level guy who's showing up at clubs, giving people, you know, seeing kids in the street. Like, he's just like this friendly dude who's selling stuff on the side. Then Bo says to him, yo, you got a pretty lady, you got a pretty girl, I'm going to give you some money, you could take her out to eat. Okay, that's pretty enough. But I need you to still do some low-level stuff, like figure out who this dude is, who's selling, who else is selling drugs in this area.
Right.
But then it should have stayed that way. Then it changed. Then he calls him up and is like, you need to come with me to kill him. Like, that's not what a low-level dude does. He doesn't have to show up with the muscle to go kill somebody else. That's not his job. That's not in his job description.
But that's my point. He didn't want him to be low-level.
But you gotta tell me. But the other thing is too, I think that you said he was ethical. Isn't there communication? Like, there should have been a conversation where he was like, yo, I want you to move up. And then Bo could have said, nah, man, I'm not trying to do that.
I mean, he's still a drug dealer.
Well,
but
that
I'm
makes
just
it like a gang initiative. Like, that, it just, I mean, it would have made, I just needed another level of explanation where there was where he could have said, well, you know, if you don't do this, you know, I gave you this, like, something where Bo knows that if he had gone further, he was in it for the long haul. It just happened overnight. It's like 1 minute he's like this low level dude, next minute he's going with him to kill somebody.
I saw it as a test, and he didn't go with him to kill somebody. He cut his hand off, and that's one of the ways that the film surprised me, because when he gave him the machete and said, "Now cut his hand off," I'm thinking, well, somehow the film is going to let him off the hook, and Angelo's going to take it from him, or he's going to do something, some sleight of hand. But then he actually cut his hand off.
Because Angelo said, if you don't cut his hand off, I'm going to cut your hand off. He didn't give him an option. And why would he?
I thought Angelo made sense to me. Angelo made sense to me.
You're out of your effing mind, Vince. Because at one moment you say he's an ethical drug dealer in one part, and he's talking to the dude. He's talking to the dude. He's sitting down with the dude, and he's trying to talk, you know, like, I'm a businessman and all this type of stuff. And,
either leave this area or you give me a percentage. He told him. Okay.
But
well,
first
I've seen drug dealers on TV do that before. That's kind of what they do.
Yeah, that's kind of what they do.
That's what they do.
But to Elizabeth's point, Angelo ropes Bo into, you know, finding out who the new guy is on the street. And that's something that's something typical, like, you know, a little extra errant you have your low level boy do. Okay? So he does that. Then for whatever reason, he needs Bo to come with him to see the low level boy. Now, at first I was going to say, okay, that makes sense if he's, you know, he needs him to identify a low-level bull, but it doesn't seem like he really needs him to do that, because they figured out who the bull was without him. He comes up showing up like, yo, I found out who it is. Come on, take this run with me. You mean you gotta take this run? Like, that's not in my job description. Like, hold up. I looked at the posting on Craigslist. It said nothing about taking a run at this bull's house. But he goes because, you know, all right.
Maybe he has to ID him. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, who knows? So
I
gotta go.
Trying to pull him in the whole time.
And then they
I think
go
he's
there.
Trying to pull him in the whole time.
Okay, so but maybe he's trying. But like Elizabeth said, if Bull is sitting there on some business type stuff, then that means business 101 is that you have a conversation with your boy that you want to bring up, especially you trying to bring this boy up as your number two. Then you let him know, like, yo, I'm not ready to give you the nod, but I'm letting you know that I'm looking at you. You know what I mean?
I'm also letting you know that if you take, there's something to being said that because he was just doing his job as he should have been doing his job, and then it changed on him. So, right. And then he cut the drugs because he was like, it was like he got caught up, but it wasn't fair the way he didn't start out trying to rip something. It's not like it would be one thing also if he had the drugs and he decided to cut the drugs without some provocation from him, then you could see that happening. But yes. He cut those drugs because one minute he was a low-level dude and the next minute he's, going out and cutting somebody's arm off. Like that wasn't part of his job description changed without him knowing. And because I've seen movies before where he's like, he gets a taste of it, like, yo, I want to be better. And then they realize they want to get out of it. But he was happy where he was. He had his little stacks, he had his little girl, he had a sister, he was paying his rent. He didn't want to be. He wasn't. I
think Angela was trying to pull him in. And then he got a little big for his britches. He got a little big for his britches and he cut the drugs and he got caught.
Well, but first of all, he didn't get big for his britches. He cut the drugs because he didn't want to take that route. So his thing was, I'm gonna cut this so I can make a big.
For whatever reason, he cut them.
But he cut them because he had to. But he cut them because he had to pay Angelo back. Like he.
No. It wasn't.
No. He cut them before. That's why Angelo got angry at him.
Right, but he cut them because Angelo. He saw that Angelo wasn't like this. Dude that was different.
Right. Yeah.
So he realized, like, yo, I got to make some quick money, so that
get out of.
Because he can get out because he wanted to get out after he cut his hand.
And the way I'm going to get out is I'm by cut these drugs. Stealing from Angelo, and then he got caught.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then Angelo said, "You give me the 15, give me the extra 15, and then give me the asshole tax." And I was like, "All right,
Kay Martin says that I think an ethical drug dealer is an oxymoron, Vince, or perhaps just a moron.
Maybe ethical isn't the right word, but he had his own code of morals. He had a code. Like, I think he was pretty straightforward. Angelo was pretty straightforward.
He was like Omar. He had a code.
He appropriately enough, he was like Omar. He had a code.
Well, the one thing that I will say about Angelo, who was portrayed by Dule Hill, while I don't think Dule Hill was doing his best work in this movie, he was decidedly the best actor in this movie, at least to me. So let me be.
I thought Jacob Latimore was charming. I thought he was a charming kid.
And that's what he plays. Like, he plays
and that's what he does. But outside of that, he was charming enough, but I guess for whatever reason I just didn't really connect with him. I just really didn't I didn't really connect with the story. I thought that the most interesting part about the story to me was the fact that he doesn't actually have powers. It's that these are all, self-engineered by turning his arm into an electric magnet, which rightfully so for this movie. They never fully explain how he does it because it makes no sense, but that's fine. That's
sure.
That's comic book movies.
Yeah.
So that's fine. But outside of that, I thought that many of the beats were kind of predictable, and I thought that the pacing of the film, while it is a good looking film and it's not badly directed, but I thought that the pace of the film was just a little sluggish for me. And
really?
Yeah, and it just didn't get me involved in the story and these characters at all. Like, I just really did not care. I didn't care. I mean, I cared a little bit about Jacob Latimore. He was okay, but Seychelle Gabriel, or however you pronounce her name, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. as his girlfriend Holly. I could have totally done without her. I didn't think she brought anything to the table. I honestly wish they had excised her out and just had more of him and Storm Reed. I kind of like their dynamic, but you didn't see a lot of Storm Reed. She was kind of like left on the side a little bit, you know. The Sashir Zamata, who plays his neighbor, she offers a little bit of gravitas to the film, but she's in and out of the film as well. I just really felt that it just at the end of the day, it just really didn't connect to me. And I felt the movie was like a little bit of a just meh. It was just like, okay. I thought that SLEIGHT was SLEIGHT.
I really liked it. Yeah, I thought it was tight. What is it, 135, 138 something?
Yeah.
Like I said, I love the economy of the script. I love the way information was conveyed. I think Dole Hill was the best actor in the film because his role was the meatiest. I found Jacob Latimore perfectly charming in this role. And what I said was between the script and Jacob Latimore, when they finally get around to making a Miles Morales film, I feel like when they get the team in the room, if they don't pull people from this film to be on the team, they should show this movie to them. Because tonally, I like the sort of down the earthness of it. Much like both of you, I thought he was actually using magic until you find out that it's the magnet, which the movie plays fair. The first thing it tells you is that he's this engineering genius, if you will. So I like that part of it too. So I was pleasantly surprised by it. And as far as the beats, like I said, I like the fact, I'm going to go back to him cutting off the guy's arm. I like the fact that this wasn't some perfect, pristine kid. Like, I like that he was actually desperate. Like, he stole the money from Carmen Esposito's character. He's dealing drugs. How often do we see someone actually dealing drugs that we're supposed to feel some sympathy for? And he did cut the dude's arm off. And there's a version of this story where I was curious, if something had happened to his sister, what was he going to do to those three? And that made him a much more interesting character than, Peter Parker clone number 4087 that you see in these things.
You're wrong, Vince. So anyway.
I mean, you can say that, but everyone else liked the movie but you.
Well, that's not true. Kay Martin says, I really don't understand how this film made $4 million. Did it come out during Corona and promise everyone a year of free masks? I'm perplexed. Doesn't sound like she enjoyed the film. That's a little harsh, though. But I have to say, I just felt like the magic scenes were well done. I'll give you that. But I just felt that, I don't know, I just felt like it was just going through the paces. It just, I wasn't looking for anything new. I wasn't expecting anything new. All right? That's fair. But I was looking for, I don't know, maybe a little bit more grittiness to it, or a little bit more of a.
He cut a dude's arm off.
So what? He was following orders. He was
grittier than that.
There's a lot grittier than that. Please, there's a lot grittier. There's a lot of grittier things than that. And don't get me wrong. I understand this was a low budget film. It was only shot for $250,000. There's only but so much you can do in this film, especially when it is dealing with powers. So you have to, really be a deft of hand with your cinematography and your special effects. But and some of them were cool, like him, spinning the ring, and he is a charming dude. It's just that I don't know. It just was boring. I don't know.
Well, I think it was. The thing about Jacob Latimore, the first movie I saw him in was the movie with Will Smith when he's one of the angels.
Oh wow!
It's not seven. Not seven.
It begins with a C.
Collateral.
Wow,
Collateral. Yeah, Collateral.
I forgot all about that.
So
movie.
that was the first movie I saw him in, and he plays, the part of what his charm is in these movies is that he's always kind of a character that's a little bit of enigma. Like he's not just the straightforward guy. He's a mind reader. He can levitate. He just appears. So the role was kind of good for him in this sense. And he's also I don't know if you guys watched, but then he can also play. I don't know if you guys watched The Chi. This last episode, because but he starred basically after Old Boy got canned. Eazy-E got canned. The guy that played Eazy-E got canned because he was sexually harassing people on set. They made him they elevated his character, so he always plays like the charming, smiling guy who kind of can get away with something, who's a little bit better than you think he is, and has a little bit of magical and flair. So for me, I think this role was kind of perfectly made for him, because that's just kind of who he is. I feel like it's getting dark, and I need to put the light on here. So
it happens to me every week.
I'm sorry. I'm like all of a sudden I'm like, how did it get so dark?
No, you're fine though.
You're fine.
So he so in that case, and that's kind of what made me choose the movie, because I'm like, oh, this is going to be kind of interesting on that. I think part of the reason you were bored, Len, because it was me. It's like I did want to know more about the power. Like I wanted to know how he put that in his arm. Now he went to see his teacher, which we didn't talk about. Like, he went to see his teacher in the movie, and his teacher helped him refine it. But what exactly? And you guys, like, so it was an electric, so he could move things. Like he became, the powers that we see people like the X-Men do with their head, he kind of engineered with his arm. So I needed a scene to see him kind of do that. Like, not talk about doing it, but do it. Like,
just a little bit. I mean,
use his hands.
You see a little bit of it because, like, where the creation started, it was a little infected on his arm.
Well, right, it was infected.
Right.
And they never explained that. Like, they never explained, like, how long has it been there? We wanted more details. Like, maybe we should have shown him as a little kid doing magic, and there needed to be maybe a flashback scene. There was something in there that we missed that was that's why it was a little boring, because we didn't understand. He told us what motivated him, which is like, okay, anytime you could do something that no one else can do, then you have magic and you have power, but you didn't really see him exercise it. And so he needed to we needed to see him kind of use his powers before that big crescendo in the end. So in the end, like before he's doing, because like that's the thing about the movie, which is a problem. Everything about the dude is low level, and then he just blows up at the end, right? He's a low level drug dealer. He's doing low level magic tricks. Then he's moving cars. Like there was no middle. The arc of the story needed a little bit more detail. It's not there. And it's not there. And I think but back to Vincent's part, it's economy of size. And he realized that when his sister was taken from him, he had to do something big in order to get his sister back. And he had to scare this dude and step up. So he didn't really have time for a middle. But I never thought, it's kind of like the motivation of him. I don't think his magic, he was never motivated to be that dude. That dude happened to him.
Right, that dude is thrust on him.
Thrust upon him.
Like that's not, like we said, that's not his thing. Lynn, to your point about all the beats, like I think we know, this is our second or third gregarious drug dealer. I was thinking about there's a movie we watched a few weeks ago, Elizabeth. A Hero Ain't Nothing But a Sandwich, and Kevin Hooks
Yeah, that's back in the 60s. Yeah, I would have been a good one to do. Mm-hmm.
Well, but what I put in my notes is like, it's the gregarious drug dealer. And I was a little disappointed that people are still falling for the gregarious drug dealer. But then the scene right after that, he talks to his neighbor and they address it straightforward. He was just the guy that gave me money, gave me a job, and now I look up and I'm a drug dealer a year later, and I'm gonna go, I'm gonna keep saying it. I kept waiting for the big reversal. I kept waiting for the big switch. I kept waiting for basically when we see crime and we talk about there's no honor among thieves. So that at one point you and I have a deal, and then you break the deal. The gregarious drug dealer is now no longer gregarious because he's a drug dealer and he's a criminal and everything that goes with that.
But I get that makes sense. But that's the thing. When there's a gregarious drug dealer, you see there's a tipping point to the gregarious drug dealer. Exactly. The gregarious drug dealer doesn't end up gregarious and then end up cutting off somebody's arm. But not that he can't do it, but you in the movie there needed to be and that's what I guess now I'm thinking about this. The big problem with this movie is that there was no foreshadowing. He beat the dude up when he went to go see him. Like, I thought that was significant that Dule Hills, like Angelo beat the dude down. Like when the dude start talking the smack, and Angelo said, this is not how you do business, and this, that, and the other. And this is a moment that surprised me. I said, this is when his muscle is going to beat him up. But they didn't. They held the guns on him, and then Angelo beat him up.
And that's cool. And that's cool because that shows the other side of the coin.
Angelo. Right.
But we never saw why.
Right there.
But we never got
to the foreshadowing.
But what the problem is that we never got to why he changed. He never explained to us why he all of a sudden expected so much more from Bo. That's the problem. Like what he just, he took Bo went out to dinner. Bo was doing low level stuff. Bo was a low level dude. So why the hell did he show up at his house? Yeah, but he didn't even tell Bo that. Oh, like, you're so smart. I want you to be my right hand man. And Bo could say, nah, I don't want to do that. Or yes, I do want to do it. It was just like Bo was in his house chilling. The dude knocks on the door and it's like, yo, you need to come with me to make this run. And next thing you know, he's not low level anymore. So that's the question. We don't know. It went from light to dark too fast.
And the other part that was bothering me, speaking about a little bit of the whole foreshadowing that you're talking about, Vince, is that while you do see Bo messing with his arm and the infection on his arm, right? And you see him like playing with the batteries,
peroxide
batteries, a way to charge it up and everything like that. What you don't see is outside of seeing the infection and outside of a later scene of having his girlfriend see the infection, you don't see the effect of the infection. You don't see him at any time while he's exercising his magic or anything like that. You don't see him like even just kind of like picking at his arm or anything. You don't see the weight of what he has done to himself beginning to have an effect on him outside of every time he takes off his shirt, there is an infection there that he seems to be worried about, and it seems to look really messy to people, but it's not causing him any great pain, so much so. But when he then later in the last third of the movie
with his teacher,
it has to go to his teacher to level up.
Right.
There's this concern. Oh, well, you've got this bad infection. If we level it up, this might exasperate the problem already. There is no problem going on.
No one said the infection was a problem the entire movie. What he said to the teacher about the extra power was the feedback, and it would burn his arm up. The infection wasn't an issue because the infection wasn't an issue.
But the teacher did say, look at what you did.
It was the backpack that was the issue with the extra power. And then when he comes out, his arm is burned up. Like, in my mind, you want to talk about a deficiency in the script. I don't even know why they brought the infection up, because it wasn't an issue the whole movie.
Well, that's the whole Chekhov's gun thing of the script. If you're going to bring it up in the first half of the movie, then it has to play a part in the last half of the movie.
Look,
and it doesn't play a part in all in the movie. And that's why you don't feel for the dude. That's why I didn't care about him.
No. You don't care about the dude that he's stuck between a rock and a hard place?
I care that he has to go rescue his daughter, but the rock in the hard place, that, to Elizabeth's point, the rock in the hard place is where he put himself. You know what I mean? Like, quiet as kept. If let's say before he cuts up the dough because he sees where this is going and he wants to get out.
Right.
If we're led to believe, and even though I think this line comes after this, but if we're led to believe that at that point he had saved up $5,000,
right,
then $5,000, while it is not enough to start a new life, $5,000 is enough for him and his little sister to move from where they are. $5,000 is enough for him to, if he really feels like I need to get out of this, is enough to make a move. But to your point, he doesn't, because he feels like he's got to cheat from Angelo and put himself in this hard place, which is fine if that's where the story wants to go. But let's see, what are the ramifications of that hard place? We've already seen this infection. So now to me, he's like even putting more of a bet on these powers that he's been giving himself and has been low leveling in their exhibition. Now he's going to have to, exercise them more to the detriment of what is going on in his arm. But you don't get that. And that is all set up by showing the infection in the beginning, by also showing the girlfriend notice the infection. Oh, baby, that doesn't look good. So there is.
I mean, is it the infection or is it just the thing sticking out of his arm?
Well, no, she said about the infection. She said that thing, it doesn't look good. It does not look healthy. It does not look right. So there are words given to that effect, and yet it never plays a part in what's happening at all. And I'm going to real quick before I let you talk. Kay Martin, who is watching intently, it appears, says that she agrees with Vince that Angelo was just trying to develop him to come up in his team. Angelo just didn't send a memo. Well, Angelo's got bad communication. He's not a good.
Well, he's not like the Barksdale organization, and they have meetings and things.
Yes, he obviously didn't watch The Wire.
Right. Which, to switch drug dealers on The Wire, remember Marlo, when Chris tells Marlo he wants to start developing one of the kids, and he says, yeah, he's got big paws like a puppy, which is what I thought about with Angelo and Bo. It was like, yeah, he sees Bo has potential.
Yeah, well.
Elizabeth?
Well, I think we should also talk about the ending, because although I was semi-satisfied with him scaring the bejesus out of Angelo and doing his whole magic thing to get out of this mess, I feel like the ending, when she sees him in the end, I'm like, well, what does that mean? Like, now is he just gonna have this forever? Is there gonna be a part 2? Like, I feel like there wasn't enough explanation. Like, while I did like the movie, and while I was I felt suspense through it, and I thought that the characters were good, and I went by suspense. Like, I wanted to know what was going to happen to him. But at the end, I didn't feel like, that's why I wouldn't call it a superhero movie, because I feel in superhero movies, we get an origin story. Things are explained to us. It tracks better as to why this guy is like this and what he does. And like you said, that infection would have definitely played a role or a larger role in that origin story or in that story. Like, they wouldn't have just thrown that in. But what I feel like in the end, I'm just like, she opens the door and it's like, oh my God, and that's it. Like,
yeah,
that's it. And I'm like, well, does this mean, did he lose his arm? Did it, does he now have a bionic arm? Can does his arm light up when you see him? Like, there's more. I feel like there was.
Well, I think you could argue as far as the superhero. I mean, no, if you just watch this for what it is not a superhero film.
Mm-hmm.
But there is an argument to be made that in much the same way as Unbreakable is a de facto superhero film, there's an argument to be made that this is potentially the origin story of a superhero, which would then make it a superhero film. So I'll give you that argument. That being said, the ending didn't do anything for me either, because
it was whack.
It was whack. It was just real
whack.
Weak.
It was just
whack.
What did y'all want?
I mean, I wanted to see him in there glowing like Iron Man or something. Like, I wanted
$250,000. We got to work with.
Okay, Vince, but let's not act like, we've been on this mission for about 4 years now, bro.
Yeah.
And let's not act like we haven't seen films made for similar budgets that have a more compelling and thoughtful beginning, middle, and end.
No. Right now we're talking about the effects. Just the effects. I thought it was a nice use of limited resources with the effects. Like, you get the sense he's in there. They show the box with the big lock on it, so that he's doing something. And then you have the scene. The electricity has gone off because the clock is blinking. Like, the electricity has gone off and come back on. And then you see the lights shimmer. So whatever he's doing, he's in there dicking around with electricity. And then it's like, what's going on in that room? Something big. Like, he's not giving up. Like, you talked about him going to the teacher. And I have to say, I was a little like, like, he goes to the white guy to help him at the end after he's been kind of self-sufficient the whole time.
And just to that point, real quick, Orphan Pixel says, if we were following the thread of Bo's inventive skill, then the price paid of the infection makes sense. But the upgrade isn't Bo's, it's the teachers, so it diminishes Bo's art.
Exactly, which is why I like the fact that when they're in San Diego, he's working on his own again. And you see the glow in that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, if it had ended with him going in there all Neo because the teacher helped him, I would have been like, well, what Orphan Pixels just said. So I actually like the end.
Wow. It sounds like that makes only one of us that didn't like the end, but I think I've veered Elizabeth closer to my side.
Sure.
In our conversation.
I think at the end of the day, I liked the movie. It was suspenseful. I liked the characters. I liked the kids. I always like Storm Reed, but I wish there was I feel like Storm Reed. I don't know if you guys watched that show on HBO that she was in with Euphoria. And she kind of always.
I didn't see that, but
Euphoria is crazy, and that is not a child show. It is a mess. But you just like talk about train wrecks. Oh my god! But you're watching Euphoria. I watched Euphoria in it, and except for the movie she did, the Oprah movie that Storm Reed did, Wrinkle in Time, which I did like. She's always like the sister she's always the biracial sister who doesn't really look like anybody else because she's Storm Reed and she has her own look. And I feel like they don't use her enough and stuff, because I feel like she's good and she's cute. Like you said, she's good and she's cute, and she's probably like 72 and we don't know it. But I feel like we never get to utilize her. She's just like this kid who's really sweet and is a younger sister to somebody, to a sibling that's always doing something stupid, and she has to take the brunt. She gets kidnapped, she gets beaten up, she gets tricked, she gets, So I feel like that we needed more of her. It would have been nice to see more of her in this movie.
I agree.
So while I did like the movie, but there were while I think I agree with Vincent with the economy of the movie and the you know the good interestingness of the script and the interestingness of the character, I also kind of agree with Lynn because there are gaping holes in the story and in the arc and things that just did things to me that if I was writing it, things that didn't make sense that somebody needed to say, yo, there's a hole here. This isn't tracking. So, but then you have to just add how much did that take away from your enjoyment? I feel like Lynn feels it did take away more from his enjoyment. Me, I'm like, okay, I kind of accepted it, but it doesn't make any sense to me. And Vincent is like, they're non-issues. And that's kind of where I am on this. So I guess I'm kind of in the middle.
I also didn't need the girlfriend. I agree with you about, I didn't need the girlfriend.
Well, that was supposed to make you feel like that was to show you the side of him where he was like this caring dude that wanted to get out. He ultimately wanted to be a family man. He's a little shy. With the girlfriend, you got to see how charming he really was.
I was about to say I did like the date because you did see him being charming and
saving her. Like, and he has this kind of savior complex thing where he wanted to come in and save her and make her live there and do all that. So she didn't bother me.
Yeah, and as far as holes in the plot, it is interesting. We've been saying all along, is it a superhero movie? Is it not a superhero movie? I get the sense, and Lynn, you just name checked it. A film like Unbreakable, or a film like one of Michael B. Jordan's early movies, Chronicle. I get the sense that Dillard thought that superhero fans would see this. And as we've said, the beats. Like, you could have told this whole story within, like Lynn, I know you knew the entire plot of this film within 5 minutes.
Yes, I did.
Because, again, it's a Peter Parker riff. Like it really is this kid, and he kind of goes through this stuff. So that, in my mind, the difference between holes in the plot and, this story is more about the audience than the film itself. So, and as somebody who, like I said, I've seen this a million times, I liked it.
K. Martin says that the budget shouldn't affect the quality of the story, to which Orphan Pixel says, right on, Martin, agreed, script needed a couple of extra passes. With that being said, Elizabeth Wellington, this was your choice. Would you recommend that people watch SLEIGHT?
Yeah, I would recommend people watch it. It's entertaining. It's a different kind of flick. It's charming. It's interesting. It's not a predictable Black movie, if that makes sense. I didn't feel like I thought, I enjoyed it for what it was. And I was watching it at my sister's house, and my brother-in-law comes down and he sits down. He's like, oh my God. So there was enough, there was levels in there where we were sitting, and he didn't even watch from the beginning. He's like, oh my God, he's not going to get out of that. He has a slightly Latino accent. He's not going to get out of that. He's going to fry. He's a mess. So he kind of, he did. So there was that sense of he wasn't watching it for a purpose, but he stopped what he was doing and he sat down and he watched it. So I think it's enjoyable, but I do think there were holes with the script, and I think it could have been better if it tracked better.
I got you. What about you, Vince?
Oh yeah, I recommend it. I liked it. I thought it was lean. I unlike a few of you all, I actually like the script. I like the script. I like the actors. My one critique, and we haven't talked about, apparently this was planned originally as a television show. And my one critique is I would have liked more of this story and more of this character. Lynn, like you, I could take or leave the girlfriend, but I think Elizabeth made a good point. Without the girlfriend, you don't see that part of Jacob Latimore's charm. So then she kind of serves that purpose. Definitely could have used more Storm Reed, but yeah, I liked it. I'd recommend it.
Well, to that point, I disagree. I think that without the girlfriend, you could have seen his charm even more on display with it via his relationship with his sister, as well as his relationship with the friend next door. Because what I appreciated about the friend next door, who admittedly was an older person, was that there was honesty with that relationship. That is one thing I will say. Like, there wasn't no hemming and hawing about, like, I don't want you to find out that I'm a drug dealer or anything like that.
Yeah.
I will say that there was just straight up forthrightness in their friendship. And I think that did speak to the character. And I thought that if that was allowed a little bit more breathing room, that could have showed you just as much charm as the relationship with the girlfriend brought to the table.
And I think, but I also think, to agree with you, Lynn, and that's why I think that hole, which I feel like I'm holding on to, which is a problem. The fact that we didn't know, the fact that, this guy all of a sudden, because I think he was so kind of open. Like, we knew he was a drug dealer. He spoke. He was very charming to dudes that were in his car, saying, "Don't sell drugs to catch girls." He was doing. He was very open. That's why I think if he was so transparent, he would have he was so transparent as a person that he would have spoken with Dulay's character. I'm like, nah, that's not what I want to do, and that's where the transparency stopped, and that's why that hole is, so, to me, such a hole in the story, because now he's in a mess and it doesn't make sense that he's in this mess. Like, he really shouldn't, with good writing, that mess would have been explained more because of his transparency. And he wasn't him, and he never. It's not that he wasn't cool with being a drug dealer. He just wasn't cool with being a drug dealer who killed people, and there was no reason for him to be caught up in killing this person, except for this drug dealer who went from light to dark any minute, and it didn't explain why he went with this character.
Right, right. Now, as much as I have come down against the film, I will say that I would recommend that people watch the film, because it is a little $250,000 film. It is well made for the most part. Jacob Latimore, I will agree that he is charming enough. I just don't think that the script does him any favors, but he is charming enough in the film. I like Dooley Hill. Dooley Hill is one of my favorite actors of all time.
I like him.
So I can watch Dooley, and it was fun to watch this side of Dooley Hill. If you grew up on the West Wing, and then to see, Charlie, now all of a sudden just is a drug dealer. It's like, whoa, what happened? But I was digging it. So
usually he's like a sharp businessman type guy.
Yeah,
kind of like went to Harvard, perfect dude. And
right. So. And I would recommend it because, damn it, there are tons of $250,000 white films that are not successful and not being seen. So go watch this film. Watch these films with all of these people of color doing their damn thing. And who knows, maybe if it becomes more of a sensation, maybe we do get SLEIGHT 2 and see what happened on the other side of the end of the film. So,
and I thought it was artsy. Like, it still had that artsy feel to it, which probably helped me kind of forgive some of its problems, because it felt kind of indie and artsy and different. Like, it wasn't like a big blockbuster where all this stuff was happening. It was still kind of artsy and smaller. Like, it deserved a chance.
Orphan Pixel says that I'm not mad at SLEIGHT. We're allowed to have middling films. You learn more from average flicks. That's very true. And K. Martin says to you, Elizabeth, the only way I recommend this would be with a bottle of La Marca.
Okay, I like you, K. Martin. Yeah.
All right. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Go check out SLEIGHT. Check it out. And let us know what you think of this film. Before we tell you what we're going to be watching next week on the Micheaux Mission, I first want to invite each and every one of you who has any feedback that they want to share with us. You can email us, ladies and gentlemen. Email us at micheauxmission@gmail.com. That's MICHEAUXMISSION@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Micheaux Mission. Join Facebook group on at Micheaux Mission, where we have a lot of fun talking back and forth with all of our missionaries. The Micheaux Mission is a proud member of the Podglomerate Podcast Network, the Podglomerate curated podcast just for your listening pleasure. And you can check out the show available as a podcast every Wednesday morning in your podcast feed. Wherever you get podcasts, you will find the Micheaux Mission, one of Apple Podcasts' top-rated film review podcasts. We're up there. You don't need to know where. We're there. That's all that counts. And the more 5-star reviews and ratings that we get, the higher in the rankings we go. So give us a 5-star rating and review if you really like the show, ladies and gentlemen. And our show is available in an edited form every Saturday at 1 p.m. on WPPM 106.5 FM. Philly Cam, People Power Media here in the city of
Philly Cam
and Sisterly Affection. And you can wake up with the Micheaux Mission every Monday at 9 a.m. on WKDU 91.7 FM, the voice of Drexel University. And if you have enjoyed as much as we have, having someone like Elizabeth Wellington on your show, and you want to get in the business of Elizabeth Wellington, and you can follow her on the Philadelphia Inquirer, which a lot of her stories are available on Philly.com. She actually did a nice little piece on Chadwick Boseman that she spoke with the both of us about as well. And she did a piece on the Black Tribbles, talking about Afrofuturism, because she's that dope. And if you want to get in touch with Elizabeth, where can people do so, Elizabeth?
You can tweet me at ewellingtonphl. You can hit me up on email at ewellington@inquirer.com. I am on Facebook, Elizabeth Wellington. I'm on Instagram, ewellingtonphl. I am on LinkedIn. I am everywhere. So I am not hard to find. All those cats be like, I couldn't find you. Yes, you could. So yeah, so I'm not hard to find. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yes. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
And please promise that you'll return one day when you have another movie you want to review.
I'll come back. I know it's hard. All of my favorite movies you guys have usually reviewed already. Have you guys done? Oh, what is that movie? About Last Night. Have you done that one yet?
No.
I love that movie. So if that one,
good movie?
It's such a good movie, and it's like because I am like a sucker for like the Black romance films. Like that's what I'm writing, like a romance novel. I just want to do all that. So I would love to come on to talk about Last Night because it was such a good movie. I mean, I've watched it a zillion times. Michael Ealy's like a little vanilla ice cream cone. So I would so love to do that movie and talk about that. And
brother can't even be a caramel ice cream cone.
White chocolate, maybe, I don't know, but it's this yeah. So I love it. And Kevin Hart's really funny, and it's one of those movies I discovered late. Like I saw it like on BET or something like one night.
Yeah. And Regina Hall.
And she is hilarious in that movie. So, and I should have recommended that. I was one of those ones like, oh, I could have recommended, but yeah, that's if I can go and talk about that movie, that would be fun, and that would be fun to talk to you guys about because I'm sure. It's one thing to talk about superheroes and people busting out of black skin, but it's another thing to talk about straight romance stuff and the believability of it, and that could be really fun. Like a brother wouldn't do that. Well, a brother should do that, and that could be like really fun to talk about.
All right, so we can't wait to make that happen. Most certainly, cannot wait. Next week, ladies and gentlemen, I believe it's my turn to pick a film.
It is your turn.
So what I'm going to do is I am, me, Vince. It's September, so it's time for me to dig into the crates.
All right, here we go.
But fortunately, the missionaries already dug in the crates for me. This film. Walter Winchell says was the best of the new film dramas of 1951. The plot centers around the disappearance of Carolyn, a 5-year-old black girl who falls into an abandoned overgrown well while picking flowers and in a film that tackles the issue of racial tensions and collective behavior, the 1951 drama The Well. That is what we will be watching and reviewing next week here on the Micheaux Mission. And if any of you are, who out there who like to watch the films alongside with us, The Well is available in full on YouTube. So you can watch the film.
I mean, that's a shame, but yeah,
that is a shame, and we will talk about that as well as the film next week here on the Micheaux Mission. And I'll give people a little extra news bonus, Vince. Because I like treating people like that. The week after, which will be, I believe, the 29th, if I'm correct. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Will be the 29th. The week after that, we will be actually sitting down and reviewing a film that has come up more than a few times here on the Micheaux Mission. So people will definitely appreciate this. We will be reviewing The Landlord.
Yes, finally.
Yeah, I know. Everybody's been on us to review The Landlord, like left and right, but
for years.
I know, it's like, geez, I mean, like, it's that movie like that deep, but no, people.
Right.
I gotta look that one up. I don't even know about
that.
Oh yeah, it's come up like more than a time or two here on the Micheaux Mission. So we will finally be sitting down to review The Landlord in 2 weeks here on the Micheaux Mission, and we will have a very special guest, Marcellus Armstrong of the Scribe Video Center here in Philadelphia, will be sitting in with us to review that film. So
excellent.
The Well next week, The Landlord the week after. There you go. That's what's coming up on the Micheaux Mission, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Until then, we got to get out of here. Thank you, Elizabeth, once again for taking time to sit with us.
Thank you.
And he's Vince. I'm Len. In parting, we say,
we'll see you when it's time to meet again.